and all that. But Dave, give me a couple of buy lows.
First one is a cheap running back that you can get if you've been desperate to add somebody. And it's someone that I'm surprised to be saying. It's Aaron Jones. We're on the wrong side of 30. He's actually going to be 31 years old in December. But before he got hurt last week, played 23 of 30 snaps for the Vikings. He scored 11.8 PPR points. That's against Detroit, in Detroit. He had 15.7 PPR points week 1. It looks like he's going to be okay to play this week for Minnesota. I would target him if I already had Jordan Mason and I still needed some running back help. If you were excited to get Devin Singletary off the waiver wire, you shouldn't have to give up too much to get Aaron Jones in a trade. He's got a top 8 projected schedule rest of season. That helps. And he wasn't even on the trade chart last week, so he's not going to be somebody who should cost a lot in a deal.
Yeah, he's got a stretch of Washington, Dallas, and the Giants. That's so good. But
hope he's still healthy by then.
Right. That's the biggest thing is, can he survive the wear and tear of being what looks like the 1A back for Minnesota? And I doubt he gets goal line carries. Like Jordan Mason can still do that. But he started last week, looked good last week. You're just trying to get somebody who can help you get through the rest of the season as an RB2. And by the way, the fact that injury risk is a concern, that's baked into what you should have to pay for him in a deal.
So would you advise making a very small offer for Jordan Mason too, just with the idea of he may be cut on some teams?
You can even give up less for Mason.
Yeah.
I don't have any confidence in starting Jordan Mason unless it was one of those matchups that Adam was talking about where there's either going to be a lot of points scored that feels like the Dallas game, or a matchup where Minnesota just might march their way to victory, like against Washington.
Yeah, I guess the upside would be is like you're trading for somebody for, again, nothing, and you're waiting out the Aaron Jones injury because like he comes back, he gets a significant workload, and all of a sudden he's hurt again.
Yeah, could happen. I was going to ask though, do we still look at Dallas on the schedule for a running back and think it's a good matchup?
I think it's even better for Jones than it would be for Mason, since Quinnen Williams theoretically is going to clog the interior.
I mean, let's just be honest for a second here. They traded for 2 guys that were on 2 teams that couldn't stop the run to begin with.
Yeah, Logan Wilson is the one that's interesting, and they're getting Demarion Overshown back too.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously
it could get significantly beher, but I don't know if I'm buying it.
It's obviously better, but to the point of like I'm running away from the Cowboys defense now, no.
No, okay. I was just asking.
Well, I'm certainly still going to throw on the Cowboys.
Dave, your other buy low is DK Metcalf.
Yeah, I settled on him. He's got 8 or fewer PPR points in 2 of his past 3 games. That's not good, but 16.5 PPR or more in 3 of his past 5. Steelers did not add a wide receiver at the trade deadline, so he's still in line to be the number 1 target getter. Could have some high volume games coming forward. Top 12 projected schedule helps. It does get a little worse once you get to Detroit and Cleveland in weeks 16 and 17. And it's still the slow-paced Steelers, but at least he's got Aaron Rodgers, who's been mostly very accurate this year. Not a lot of off-target throws from Rodgers. And I know that Jaylen Warren had 2 touchdowns last week, had a great game. Not sure if I'm buying that the Steelers are suddenly a good running team moving forward. So another wide receiver that I think you can acquire relatively cheap. You're going to have to pay more for Metcalf than you would for Aaron Jones.
Okay. All right, we'll take a break. We'll come back with some more buy lows, sell highs. By the way, Jacob Gibbs is going to join us later on in the show to give some advanced metrics, and we'll be right back. We asked the chat who's the biggest winner from the trade deadline. Jacoby Myers, I don't think we agree on that. I mean, I guess it's good just to hit him to get out of Las Vegas.
I don't think it'll be worse.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. The Jets
and
Taysom Hill.
Do we have a clarification on Brian Thomas? Was it a high ankle?
According to Schefter, it's a low-grade high ankle sprain. Could play this week.
Well, that's not confusing.
That's a big difference. Like some guys come back from the high ankle sprain, they don't miss time. The bad high ankle sprains are 4 to 6 weeks. Tyjae Spears.
Well, if he has a high ankle sprain that bothers him for a month, but it's low enough grade that he's able to play through it, I think Jacoby Myers will be the number 1 wide receiver on that.
Yes, that's a great way.
I think in the case of the compensation that they gave up for a team that has not ruled out Travis Hunter yet, or Brian Thomas for this week, or Diami Brown for this week, also remember he's in the concussion protocol. They paid a pretty hefty price for a guy that's a rental, and not exactly a superstar.
Yeah.
Well, they could always re-sign him.
But does that make sense for what they have already on their roster?
It depends on what they pay him, but you're right. Like they can't give him a superstar's contract given what they have, unless they're already plotting to move on from Brian Thomas Jr.
Okay. And yeah, some people saying that Jack Besh and Trey Tucker could be the biggest winner. I think that's kind of where we were at. Olave was
Can I say one thing on the Raiders?
Yeah.
They used a ton of 2 tight end formations last
Yep.
week. And if they keep doing that, you're not going to see a lot of Besh and Thornton on the field. Neither one of them even played last week. So dynasty, no question. They belong on a bench. Redraft leagues, even deeper redraft leagues, I would wait to see what happens this week first. But I agree on Trey Tucker. Dude's been playing outside all season long. His ADOT's gone down over his last 3 games. That's a little worrisome. But if he's going to get 6 or 7 targets per game, could end up being decent some weeks. Could be in that number 3 flex range.
He's the one constant. You're right, Dave, because for some reason they want to continue to play Tyler Lockett over the younger guys.
Right. They just got him.
All right, Jamie, let's go to your buy lows. Couple of wide receivers. Zay Flowers, Heath had him as a buy low last week. So I think he's getting so many targets on a target share percentage, but obviously it's tough with Baltimore. And then AJ Brown, Zay Flowers and AJ Brown.
Yeah, I mean, for Flowers, I know where Heath was going last week. It made so much sense, with Lamar Jackson coming back and, what he was at the beginning of the season and just taking that a step forward. He's coming off a disappointing game. We had high expectations for him against Miami and he didn't play well. And then you just look at the end of season schedule and it's very favorable for him. So if he can sort of live in that 14 point per game range as a floor without scoring touchdowns, and then maybe gets a few more touchdown opportunities, we could be looking at a wide receiver 1 to close the season. So if you can find the, Zay Flowers manager that's hovering around 500 or worse and has a need someplace else and you could fill that need, then try and make that trade if they have wide receiver depth, because Flowers was drafted as a low end number 2, high end number 3 receiver and that manager may have some options on their team. In the case of AJ Brown, I actually think I had him on this list last week as well, because they were on a bye. And so hoping that he's going to be healthy. Same thing I said last week. End of season schedule is fantastic for him. We know that he was still getting targets. He just was not producing at the level that we're used to seeing. And if he's right, hamstring's healthy, can still be that guy. I think we're going to see the Eagles. I don't buy that their rushing offense is fixed. Their rushing attack is fixed just because Saquon Barkley had that great game against the Giants. So we could see a little bit more opportunities for him, or similar opportunities for him like we had earlier in the season. And I'll take my chances with that if I can get him at a reduced cost, because he's clearly been, as we're seeing, somebody just said in the chat, AJ Clown. People are frustrated with what AJ Brown has failed to deliver this season. Hopefully he can finish the season strong.
AJ Clown. Yeah, he's getting a lot of targets, and I like the fact that they have a lot of good offenses left on their schedule, and it might lead to games where Jalen Hurts has to throw at least 30 times. Green Bay.
Their defense now is just so dominant.
That's true, but still, like Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, Chicago, Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills in the fantasy championship. It's like, I don't care how good the defenses are. If they throw the ball, they're going to have success. Just need to be able to just don't have games like the Giants game where just Barkley's going crazy and they're running a ton. And then Heath, you've got Tedero McMillan, who is currently wide receiver 35 per game, and Dak Prescott.
Yeah, it's just like Tedero McMillan has a 42% air yard share this year. There's one wide receiver in the NFL that has a higher share. Everybody probably knows who it is. You want to guess?
JSN?
Of course.
Yeah.
And I just think for a rookie wide receiver who has definitely underperformed his underlying metrics, I'm always going to be willing to bet that guy is going to improve. And so you said he's wide receiver 35. If you can buy at wide receiver 30 cost, I think that would be a good bet. His metrics look like, and it's one of the reasons that a lot of people just keep ranking him as a no doubt number 2 start wide receiver, because that's what the metrics look like. And so I'm going to bet that those are going to pay off. And if they don't, it's still a bet that I think is worth making.
If Jake Ferguson is your only tight end and you need a wide receiver, would you give up Ferguson for Tedero McMillan?
Who's on the waiver wire?
Mason Taylor is the best tight end. Mason Taylor and Juwan Johnson are on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I think I'd do that.
Okay.
I'd definitely do that. 100%.
Same.
Go do that.
Dak Prescott.
Speaking of Jake Ferguson, they've both had 2 very bad games in a row. I'm more confident that Dak's going to bounce back than I am that Ferguson's going to bounce back. I just haven't seen anything from Dak that suggests to me that he's going to play bad the rest of this season. And he has CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, and Jake Ferguson. I would expect him to be a top 6 to 8 quarterback the rest of the season.
I was just about to ask you that. You answered it. Perfect.
Does the schedule bother you? And let's go through the schedule here because he has some good pass defenses. Got to bye at Las Vegas, great. Philadelphia, Kansas City at home, at Detroit. When they're healthy, they're pretty good. Minnesota, Chargers, and then at Washington in Week 17 is great. But it's not one of those schedules. Go, ooh, he's going to tear this up. He's got some tough defenses there.
The thing is, like 5 of those teams might score 40 points against the Cowboys.
Yeah, or all of them.
All of them might, but like it's some of the best offenses in the NFL against the Cowboys defense, which I think I do think their run defense is going to be better.
How can
And their pass defense is still going to be atrocious. And that's actually better for Dak because the last thing you want is him sitting on the sideline while a team runs it 16 times at 5 yards a pop and goes 80 yards and takes 12 minutes off the clock. I think teams will score much faster than that against the Cowboys. And so he should be involved in shootouts, and I would expect much better production.
All right, let's transition over to our sell highs. But to recap, Dave has Aaron Jones and DK Metcalf as buy lows. I'm pretty low on them. Jamie has Zay Flowers and AJ Brown. Heath has Tedero McMillan, who says, pay wide receiver 30 costs for him. He could be better than that. And Dak Prescott. Heath, sell high?
Yeah, I've only got one of those, and I've said it like 6 times this season, so I'm going to say it again. And it's coming off of a bad game, but it was still a 17-point game. I am really pretty terrified by Daniel Jones' upcoming schedule. He plays in Berlin against the team that ranks number 8 against quarterbacks, and I know they haven't been as good lately, but they did hold Drake May to 20 fantasy points, which is about 80% of his season average. And it's in a dome, but it's not in Indianapolis. Then he goes on bye. Then he goes to Kansas City. Then he gets a home game. Or is it not Kansas City right after that, Dave?
I'm double checking on Berlin being a dome. I think it might be.
Berlin is a open. It's
got
Adam
a
loves. It is a open open top, open roof.
Retractable roof, or just like
I don't know if it's
So
retractable.
I Googled it, and it
Retractable.
said it used to be an open roof, and they put a dome on it.
So I
Olympia
just happened to
Stadion
look-
Berlin.
The picture I saw last night, I think is Olympia something. Stadium.
Olympia Stadion.
Yeah,
I'm
it looked
probably
like,
butchering that. I'm sorry, Berlin.
it looks like Dallas.
Gotcha.
Regardless, then he's at Kansas City.
It's
then he
definitely
gets-
not a dome.
He gets a home game, and guess what? It's against the number 1 pass defense in the NFL, the Houston Texans. Then he goes back on the road for 2 more games.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
not sure you're going to want to start. Like Daniel Jones will probably have a couple of 20-point games in that stretch. I'm not sure you're going to want to start him in the next 5 weeks.
All right, so listen, he's coming off a horrible game, right? And people might be thinking, the pumpkin joke that you and I both made.
I'd rather have Dak Prescott.
But hold on. But what if we say, would you sell high on Michael Pittman, who is on fire right now, getting a lot of targets, looking great? Does this extend to him?
If you could get top 12 wide receiver value, then yes.
I think you can.
If you have, like, I think he's probably still a number 2 wide receiver.
Who would you rather have rest of season? Michael Pittman. Rank these guys: Michael Pittman, Zay Flowers, AJ Brown.
That's a good.
I've got it in the
list.
order you said it on the trade chart,
Oh wow.
and it's probably going to be that order, even like absent of the trade chart.
I would go Flowers, Pittman, Brown.
I've got it Brown, Flowers, Pittman.
Wow.
Wow, I
That's-
wish you guys had. I would try and buy low on Pittman from you guys. I don't think he's going to be a complete disaster.
Well, I don't think Brown or Flowers is going to be a
I don't think
I
so
like all
either.
3 of these guys. It's not.
I like all 3 of these guys. I think Pittman's got the most upside of the 3 for the rest of the season.
I'm a little concerned about Zay Flowers. He doesn't score, and this is nothing new. He doesn't get targeted there. I understand that could easily change. He's got 2 games in his entire career with more than, I want to say, 13 or 14 fantasy points with fewer than 7 targets. And like obviously they're going to want to run the ball a lot. So I like him, but I think he'd be last to me on this list because they just don't throw enough. Not even.
Well, he doesn't score, but if he matches his career totals, he's got 3 or 4 touchdowns coming in the next 8 weeks.
I hope so. I think AJ Brown's got more than that.
Well,
I'm just big on AJ Brown.
I had Brown ahead of Flowers.
Yeah.
an injured AJ Brown, or at least an AJ Brown where we don't know how healthy he is, easily is last on this list. Once
right,
we
that's-
know, and we don't know, if we get reports that he's fine and he's not even on the practice reports this week for Philadelphia, then it's worth changing your tune, and you can put him over Flowers, you could put him over Pittman. But he hasn't been the same receiver consistently week after week in 2025, and that worries me. The fact that he was hurt going into the bye worries me. If he's still on the injury report coming out of the bye, that really worries me. And not for nothing, I guess it's not fair to say Devontae Smith has outplayed him this year, at least in terms of fantasy points, because he's played one more game. But Devontae Smith has looked pretty good this year too.